Hello and welcome to the Hospitality Twins podcast. I'm Jerry Reyes.
And I'm Ramon Reyes. Tourism offers us an opportunity to visit new places and experience new and exciting attractions.
But it's the people within the hospitality industry that make these experiences unique and memorable.
We look forward to shedding light on the talented people who make the hospitality industry special.
And also to providing coaching and career tips to those seeking to join our industry.
Today, we're happy to be joined by Pablo Alcantara. Pablo began his career in the hospitality industry and hotels. I had the pleasure of working with Pablo when he began his career as a night auditor. Since then, Pablo has transitioned into the airline industry where he is currently a flight attendant. He shares his views on being a good host and how beginning his career in hotels prepared him to be the best at what he does today. We're pleased to welcome you into our conversation with Pablo as he shares his experience in the industry and also discusses the changes being made in the airline industry today as we adjust our approach to service as well as cleanliness. We hope you enjoy listening as much as we enjoyed having this conversation with Pablo.
Why don't we start off by having you tell our listeners a little bit about how you got started in hospitality?
Well, thank you, Jerry and Ramon, for having me. And I'm really excited about this opportunity you're giving me. Well, I started in the hospitality industry thanks to you. During that period in my life, I needed an extra little bit of work. And I was happy I was able to get it over there at the W French Quarter in New Orleans. It helped me to start thinking quicker on my feet and, find solutions where there were none, just by the power of persuasion, so that I could delay the gratification on the guests, but people were still happy, and that was the whole point of it. This was a precursor for me to be able to get that job in the airline industry, because as you're 36,000 feet up in the air.
Right.
It's not like you can get something if you don't have it on the plane. So
Exactly.
you have to be able to talk your way out of the problems that may arise.
Right. Well, that's definitely interesting. And, I've always thought about, obviously Ramon and I, we've never worked on the airline side, but I've always experienced it as a customer and always thought about the relationship between customer service in a hotel when people are coming into our four walls and being able to deliver on expectations and hopefully exceed those expectations. But to your point, on an airplane, you're 36,000 feet in the air, and it's a lot more difficult to do that. But I do think a lot of times that there's a lot of relationship between the two, and I often wonder if those folks that are on the flight crew, if they've had experience in hotels, how that's helped them be able to. I was grateful to have you as part of the team at the W French. You started off right away jumping into night audit, which is not something that people typically start off in, but you were able to adapt to that really quickly and able to own that with a level of maturity and the customer service side of it that's again not typically common for people to just come into the industry and jump straight into night audit.
Yeah, something that you said, and this wraps everything, is that knowing that you can depend on your team to be there on those points that you might not be super proficient, but someone else can take over and handle the situations. That's
Exactly.
that's key in the hotel side, and also key in the aircraft, because as every time I start like a new flight, I always you always talk to the crew, and so you always know what are you proficient on what should I know, like, because you start getting to know people, and this person is good in the galley, this person is good doing this, so how to delegate or come together make the best experience possible for the passenger.
That's really good. Thank you for sharing that. One of the things that you pointed this out, you sort of fell into this industry, and most people that have, or many, I should say, that are in our industry, didn't necessarily get their first look. They fell into this career in some form or fashion, but then fell in love with it. And obviously, that seems to be the case for you, because you started in hotels and then eventually grew into airlines. What is it that, if you had to point out what you enjoyed the most that had you transition your entire career into hospitality, what would it be?
Well, I do enjoy hosting. It brings me personal joy to host. I always, before working in hospitality, I always like to have people over in my house and cook and make drinks and share life experiences and stuff. And just that, it definitely brings me joy to host and have people just leave happy with the fact that they had a good time.
And it's Jerry said this already, but there are so many similarities, and you probably felt the same when you were in hotels. We're hosts. We are
Yeah.
hosts, and I said this in a
Exactly.
previous podcast. We are welcoming those that are coming into our building for you, the aircraft, as if we're welcoming them into our home. And that there's a lot of things that are just truly special about that. And those that do it well, and again, I'm repeating something I've said before, are truly under that mindset that we're hosts and that we're serving them, that we're in a service industry and we're here to serve them. And it seems like, again, that's something that, to Jerry's point, you've been able to carry over from hotels into the airlines as well.
The level that we needed to have over there at the W, definitely, has helped me tremendously over here in the airline. I flew international purser for about 10 years. So I was in
Wow.
charge of the team delivering the service and every little problem that may have arisen during those flights.
Yeah, that's
So
so
I'm
interesting.
definitely grateful,
Yeah.
for my experience in
Yeah,
the
and
hotel industry.
I definitely want to just stress on that very point, and you've kind of answered it, but I want to push it a little bit forward. You've had such a successful career in hospitality, obviously starting with the hotels and then now ranging and going into the airline industry. How do you feel working within hotels has prepared you or helped you to transition to the airline industry? You hit on a few points, but I want you to focus on that a little bit more. I mean, what else did that hotel experience bring that afforded you that opportunity to transition to airlines and do it now for I don't know how many years, but you've been doing it for a while, because those days at the W for Jerry and I were quite some time ago.
Yeah. Well, first is being able to work on a team and know that you cannot do it all by yourself, that you have to learn to rely on others, to trust others, because that's the only way you will get to the big picture. That's how you're gonna deliver that service that you're striving for. You have to come together, talk, communicate, so everyone's on the same page, so you can deliver the type of service that you want.
Yeah,
And
that's so
and that's
important.
something is uh, that's being stressed about in the hotel industry and in the airline industry over and over again. That's when we do the service, it's a certain way so that everyone's on the same page. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. It's just, let's all be on the same page so we can deliver that award-winning service, and so they can leave happy, and then that will bring them back, and that means we will have job security with that.
Yeah. It's interesting because, again, so many similarities between hotels and airlines. And you would think, right, in hotels, we do the same thing. There's so many brands that are out there. We want guests to stay with us because our brand is different and we're going to provide this experience. And the reality is that you're tripping over hotels. There's a ton of hotels in almost every city. What is it that differentiates you or your brand from the other brand that really begs the question, hey, why would I stay with you, or why should I stay with you as opposed to staying to the hotel that costs the same and looks the same that's right down the street? And it boils down to your people. But it's interesting to hear you, still speak in that same manner about airlines, because a lot of people think about airlines and say, wow, you got to, so, you're going to get the business irregardless, right? But the way you've explained it, it seems like the way that the culture exists within the airline industry is such that you guys pay very, very close attention to that, such that you build that loyalty and want them to come for the service, not just because they're flying from one destination to another that every airline can fly to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a service and it's what you offer to deliver the same service all the time, so people know what to expect. Because the people that fly on us regularly, they know they know how the service goes. We have a pretty big business oriented clientele, and most of those passengers, they know exactly how the service goes, probably sometimes better than some of the flight attendants. And you usually know when you have a new passenger when they're asking for, can I get this? And you're like, yeah, I'll bring it to you right now, but it's coming right along too, like, because the people that fly regularly, they know
They know
this
those
comes
steps.
first. Yeah, they know all the little steps on how the service goes. So they're no worry that they're not gonna get something they expect, because they know it has a time and a place for it.
Pablo, and one thing that comes to mind for me, and you mentioned it a couple of times, and I think it's spot on, and the same applies for hotels. But it's interesting to hear you speak in this context for airlines, and it makes me think about the team. So you mentioned the teamwork being really critical, and we think about hotels in the same way. But one of the things that comes to mind as you're speaking about it is that our teams at the hotel tend to be a lot larger than the smaller unit that you have in an aircraft, typically servicing, it may be 300 people on an airline or on an airplane. And you have a small crew of what? Is it 4 or 5 people? How many people are in your crew?
No, if you're talking about, let's say, on a wide body aircraft going international, you usually have between 9 and 13 people, depending on the aircraft.
9 and 13 people, and still, when you think about the ratio of customers to, or passengers to people working on that crew, it's that much more critical that everybody be that everybody have a clear understanding of their role, and everybody be spot on with the delivery of service, because one, I'm
Yeah,
sure, impacts the entire crew is if somebody's not pulling their weight, so to speak, or doing what
yeah.
their role requires, then it could definitely have a negative impact on the team.
Sometimes you have, of course, every now and then you get a bad apple, but that's not the usual. The usual, everyone pulls their weight and everything's done according to the policies and procedures, and everything's delivered, on a timely fashion. But every now and then it happens to the best of us, and we might forget to turn an oven, and we have to go and apologize.
Right, right.
Meal will be delivered a little late.
Exactly, exactly. But again, sometimes mistakes happen. It's about how we recover from those things that is most critical. I'm going to switch gears here just a little bit, Pablo, and ask you, just you went on a voluntary furlough, if I understand. Obviously,
Yes.
this is an interesting time where that was offered, and I've heard about that through several airlines that they've offered that to folks, obviously with the limitation of lift or flights. But wanted to ask that prior to your going on furlough, what trends were you seeing impacting the airline industry?
People are not willing to fly uh, because of this situation, and the fact that we had to be on lockdown. So this definitely put a hamper on the plans that the airline had before.
Of course,
You
of
know,
course.
'Cause we were on a very large expansion before. That was probably only delay with the fact of the deliveries of the Boeing 737 Max because of the accidents.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, but after COVID is the fact that, we have to reduce the schedule extremely. Right now we're probably only flying about 40% of what the old schedule used to be. And right after COVID started and the lockdown started, it was, I think maybe just 15% that we were flying.
Wow.
So because, flights getting canceled and because of the options that the company gave, people were changing their flying dates and, just to see what was going to happen or how it was going to being handled. But now, that we are moving along and we have to come up with ways, like over here, where I work at United, they got together with Clorox and the Cleveland Clinic, and they came up with a way to sanitize the aircraft. So it's done every single time, the aircraft is departing from one. So I mean, it's being done every single time that the aircraft lands and it takes off again. And they're wiping every surface with industrial strength cleaner, plus the fogging procedures to you know disinfect every area. So plus the wearing of the mask, that's mandatory. um, so it's pretty safe right now, but still you have all these people that have no work right now. So it's not the free flow of cash that we had before.
I was going to ask you a question about that, but you've really detailed it out well in terms of how this pandemic has impacted the cleanliness and sanitation procedures within the particular airline that you work for, but just in general as an industry. And I can tell you within hotels, electrostatic, which is what you described,
Yeah.
right? Electrostatic, procedures and wiping things down. At the end of the day, our goal, and just it's the same as within the airline industry, is to keep everyone that's flying safe, and through that process, keep their employees safe, keep their families safe. Those are the customers as well as the employees safe. And so it's just extremely important. How, with regards to the who does that? I mean, how is it applied within the airline industry now in terms of who does what? Is it an all hands on deck that everyone's part of this cleaning and sanitation process for you guys, or is it that there's a specific team that actually does it?
There's a specific team that actually does it because actually everyone's let's say if I was doing what we call a turn, that's where you go from your base to one city and then everyone deplanes. And then at that point, even us that some before this, we just stayed and the the crew that came to clean, they will they'll just tell us to, okay, move to this side, move to this side, and they'll clean. But now it's like everyone has to step out. The crew comes in, they go, they wipe every single surface, and then the person with the electrostatic fogging comes in and they come in and do that. And I mean, it's impressive. It's impressive that, that the way they're cleaning right now. This is, I think right now, aircraft are the cleanest and more sanitized that they have ever been since I've been working.
Yeah, that's interesting. And we again as an industry made similar changes, both the hotel where and the brand that Jerry works for, and the one that I do as well. Right, we changed to a chemical that kills viruses in 45 seconds, whereas the chemical we had before would take close to 5 minutes to do it. Right, and so we're all making adjustments, and with the safety of everyone in mind. But it has been impressive, even on our end. There are things that we're doing that are probably going to be around forever. It's
Right.
not just something that's
They're
going to be
permanent.
adopted. Yeah, it's going to be permanently there, not as just something that we're doing until we stop talking about COVID. Do you feel the same way about the airlines, that those practices are going to be around for a long time?
Yes, I feel this is here to stay, and hopefully this will help even with the flu this winter coming on right
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think, and you and I were talking about that a little bit the other day,
now. Yeah.
Pablo, and you said the same thing, and I agree. And I think that similarly at hotels, those practices, to Ramon's point, are going to be here to stay, and they're good practices. It's great for us to keep those things happening. And I saw something the other day, and I think this is really also about communicating out. What we're doing, and I think that whether it be different brands of hotels or different airlines, everybody is in this mode where we're doing these things, and it's great, but we're also doing an effective job of communicating out to reassure, whether it be the customer or the traveler, reassure them that they're going to be safe on an airline, they're going to be safe in a hotel, because of all of these practices, because to the points that we're making here, everything is as clean as it's ever been, and these practices are going to be around for a long time. I also saw something, a study that Boeing did, that they put out, where they communicated how airflow works in the aircraft, and how frequently fresh air is pumped into an airline. And it even went so far as to say that that even if you're sitting shoulder to shoulder next to someone, that it, because of how the airflow works in an aircraft, it's the equivalent of being 7 feet apart. So, those are things that are reassuring to people, that will give them a peace of mind when traveling. And then obviously also to hear all of the measures that are being taken at hotels to make sure that people are kept safe. And honestly, that's also for the crew on the airline. That's also for the employees of a hotel. It's really to make sure that everyone is kept safe. And I agree, those things hopefully will have a positive impact in reducing flu frequencies this year. So I'm interested to see how that helps us. And again, that's another reason why these things hopefully are here to stay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could not agree more. I mean, I think we definitely are seeing a lot of innovation, new practices, and things that are coming about by way of this pandemic. And I'm just to stay on the topic of the pandemic, because Jerry was going to ask a question here, but I'm going to skip him just because it's relevant to the pandemic, and I think it's appropriate to ask it now. What for you personally? I mean, what's been the impact on you during and due to this pandemic?
Well, the impact, personally is, lazy, and I've been gaining weight.
You got to work on that, Pablo. You have to work on
Yeah,
that.
no, I have to work on it. But I definitely have gotten a new appreciation for, my job, and it has shown me how much I appreciate it, how much I love my job, how much I love going out there. And, like I said, I love hosting people. So I miss that interaction. Uh, that right now is hard, because, it's not like, before, I went to work, and, you talk with so many different people, and, some people, you talk to them, you say, why you going over here? Are you going on business? And, or, you're going on, on pleasure, and, what you're going to do. And you get people telling you, oh, I'm going over here. I'm going to go and get married. There's so many different things, people travel for, weddings, unfortunately, sometimes funerals,
Right.
you know, that is missing right now. Because yes, even though we can do the video conferencing and the telephone call, nothing ever will replace shaking someone's hand or giving someone a hug
Agreed.
Yeah,
that you can do. So,
yeah.
but for me, it has been, that laziness that I'm trying to shake it out of me. And, and the fact that I got, the new appreciation for my job.
You
And I
know,
have realized that I really love what I do.
yeah, you know what? And you can't blame that on the weather where you are, because you should be out and about living in a state like you do. But I tell you, you made a lot of great points. in our industry, there's so many people like you, and I'm referring to hospitality as a whole, that truly love what they do, and they miss, just like I did when we closed this hotel for a couple months, that interaction, not only with the guests that we're welcoming, but also with my fellow coworkers. You mentioned really being able to engage in great conversation with our guests, getting to know them, sometimes knowing what they want before they do, making great suggestions, and just being a host. You brought it up early on. I mean, that's what we enjoy doing. We enjoy being their host and ensuring that they have a great experience. And somehow, in some way, we contribute to that experience, even if it's just with a recommendation. I'm with you 100%. I felt it for a couple months. It's interesting because before, when we were opening this hotel that I'm at currently, and I had a year almost where I didn't have an open hotel. That's what I missed the most, is really just the engagement, the passing a guest up in the lobby, or up on the corridors, and engaging them in these conversations and being part of their experience. I love what I do too. I can tell you do as well. And it's just interesting to hear how some of the similarities exist between, all aspects of hospitality, airlines, and hotels.
Well, and Pablo, I've got my next question here for you, but one of the things you mentioned earlier made me think about this. And as Ramon and I, we're in the hotels and we're engaging with guests and we're living through an experience that we're creating for them by giving these recommendations, welcoming them, hosting them, hopefully ensuring that they're having a good time. We're also asking them some of the similar questions that you mentioned you ask your passengers, is like, where are you coming in from? What brings you into town? All of those different things. And I honestly feel that I'm living through that experience with them. So I get to hear about different parts of the country, different parts of the world through these individuals. But you and your role in particular has afforded you the opportunity to visit, many places. You talked about traveling internationally, and I'm sure you've done some domestically as well. Where have you visited that you found the most interesting, and why?
My favorite cities, I have like four that I'm super partial to them, I guess, and two, Paris and Tokyo. And I'm partial to them because my roommates during my university days in New Orleans at UNO, one was French, the other one was Japanese. So every time I go to those cities, I hang out with them and I do what the locals do.
Wow. You're not a
And
tourist there. You're like a local, right?
yeah, I'm like a little bit of a local. And then the other two cities that I like, it's amazing, but which are Barcelona and Melbourne in Australia.
Mhm.
Uh, I love them for the same deal. They have a beach. It's laid back like it's in New Orleans. They have good bars and good food. Those are the top four. It's Barcelona, Paris, Tokyo, and Melbourne. It's just amazing places with amazing people, friendly people. Well, not Paris. Paris, you always have to.
They
Paris, you
don't they
have
don't like
to.
you at first.
Well, no, the easy way to make them like you, or at least
Is to speak
for them
French.
to help you, is you try to speak in French, and the moment they see you cannot do it, and you're having like a crazy rough time, and they cannot understand you, they'll talk to you in English, and then everything's good. But never approach a Parisian and go straight into English. It's not a good idea.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, yeah, they at least want to see you make the effort, right? Right.
Yeah.
Well, I can first of all say that I'm truly jealous because, obviously we work in the industry, and I don't want to say we're confined to our four walls. Obviously, there's a lot of perks and that are afforded to us in travel, but we don't get to experience it the way that you do, or as often as you do. And it's interesting from your perspective because you're in the airline industry, and you're hosting customers on your flights, but then you transition into the mode of customer, right, when you go to these destinations. And hopefully, again, you mentioned you get to experience it as a local, but you're experiencing it as a tourist first, and you get to really kind of experience both sides of that, which is really interesting.
Yeah, but when I was working with you, I did take a trip to Japan, and I was able to use our benefits from the hotel,
Right, right.
and that allowed me to stay for during that time like about a month in
Wow,
Japan.
wow.
And I mean, it's definitely something you guys need to make time and just take the plunge and go.
Well, I'd love to. That's going to be on my bucket list,
I
definitely.
would too, I tell people though I work in a business that never closes, so it's a month is hard to get away for.
It is. It is.
No, but you need to at least do. I'm quite sure you guys can get 15 days and really go, so you
Yeah,
can disconnect for a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. Oh, it sounds
You know,
amazing.
I've got just another question here for you,
Mhm.
Pablo. And obviously, there's a lot going on, with the pandemic and the impact of the pandemic, and we're living through it, and we're in this industry that is so dependent on travel. You are and have been on both sides of it, or on every side of it, right? You just talked about how you travel and you're a customer, but you're working for an airline, and Lyft has been impacted. Obviously Lyft is what impacts us in the hotel industry, or the lack of Lyft. When you think about the future of travel and our industry, what do you hope for the future of travel in our industry?
I believe that we will get over this, and the future of travel will be bright, because right now people are looking for experiences. People are less interested in material possessions. I think the new generation is less interested in possessions, but they're more interested in the experiences they can get from life, and that you only get by going places, by meeting people, and by visiting the places and experiencing history, and that's what will continue to happen.
No, definitely. And I believe there's a lot of, I agree with you completely. First of all, I think that there's a lot of pent up demand and people are eager to travel. You mentioned it earlier. There's nothing that can replace going somewhere, shaking somebody's hand, giving them a hug, and experiencing the different cultures that different destinations will offer us. And again, you have a unique perspective being on many different sides of that and understanding what a guest experiences on a flight, and even what they experience in a hotel and at a destination as a customer. You've expressed kind of every facet of it. So, I'm definitely jealous of your experience in this. But I completely agree with you in that, there's nothing that can replace that experience that we all yearn to have. And, obviously we as hoteliers, we're eager to help facilitate that. So I truly hope that we have a bright future on the other side of all of this, and that it comes sooner than any of us expect.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you put that very well, Pablo, with regards to the future of travel and what people are looking for. I think that we're going to get past this. It's not a matter of will we; it's a matter of when.
Mhm.
And we know we see it. Those that are open right now, when people come visit us, it's more staycations these days. But that's why they're coming to visit, because they're seeking that. They want that interaction, that human interaction, that experience. I love your point about the new generation and what they're looking for, the life experiences and the travel. We see that here too. And I think that the future is bright. We just have to get there. It's a matter of time. And folks like you that have been working in this industry and truly enjoy being hosts are really what's going to make it come together, and ensure that those individuals seeking those experiences leave saying nothing but great things, and having found new memories through this journey or through these experiences. So, if people wanted to learn more about you, Pablo, and your experiences and what sort of has led to your journey within hospitality, I mean, can they find you on LinkedIn or any other social media?
I have Twitter and Instagram, and it's just Pablo V Alcantara.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us today and spending time with us and allowing us to learn a little bit more about you. I've not had the good fortune of working with you like Jerry did, but I knew a lot about you and learned a whole lot more today. And truly respect your trajectory within our industry and your contributions today. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you guys for having me.